Yeah, man, how you doing? You good? I know you like that. I know you like that. How long you been back, man?
Welcome into the Saturday Show, everybody. Hope you all are doing well on this Saturday morning. We are live on location once again. Today we are up in Woods Cross at Murdoch Chevrolet. I'm Jake Hatch, joined as always by Michelle Bodkin. Hi, Michelle.
Hi.
How are you?
You know what? Doing so well because it's week 0.
It is. Yeah, we have games today. Now, the caliber of games across the board of week 0 aren't necessarily stellar.
No.
But hey, we have college football.
It's better than talking about conference realignment or Cam Rising's knee.
Sure. Yeah. Well, well, okay. Here's the thing. We can still talk about Cam Rising's knee.
Well, yeah, we're gonna have to. It is a storyline.
We can still talk conference realignment because the ACC apparently is just waffling every other day on if they want to take Stanford and Cal and SMU. I don't know. But.
Well, it was the Pac-12 waffling one way or another every other week, and now that's done and over. So someone else has to pick up the torch.
Yeah, good point. Good point. Very, 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 very solid point on your part on that. But yeah, we got plenty to cover on that. We'll talk about Utah. They of course open up on Thursday night. BYU's 2 days after that against Sam Houston State. Utah State is headed to Iowa City to take on the Hawkeyes, who have their own storylines in and of itself. But let's kick off today's show before we dive into that by getting everybody's highlight of the week. I'm actually going to send it right back to the studio and have Sarah kick us off this week.
Let's go.
Oh, gosh. My highlight, I don't even know. I'm glad to be back working. Like, games are back and going.
Sure, yeah.
For the Pac-12, which is kind of nice, even though, things are looking grim in the future. At least we have today to look forward to. So,
sure.
So that's been kind of nice. Just working a lot of soccer and volleyball and now football today. So that's probably my highlight.
I like that. Well, hey, it's good to be busy. Let's put it that way. And you're right. The long-range prognosis, a little iffy. But nonetheless, fun all the same. Michelle, what do you got this week?
Ooh. It's probably got to be a two-way tie between. So last week I went to FanFest.
Okay, yeah.
And it got rained out.
Well, okay. So I was at the Bees game that night, and I watched the clouds rolling in. The way they were rolling, I'm like,
yeah, this looks bad.
I was with my daughter. It was Princess night at the Bees game. So I was like, Danny, we're going to get food. I didn't make her because she would have freaked out had she seen. I'm like, let's go get food. We walk back underneath. We're ordering food, and all of a sudden you just hear the downpour and people just scrambling out of their seats. I'm like, okay, we timed it perfectly. But then I'm like, hold up. The Utah Fan Fest is tonight too.
Yeah.
Anyways, continue.
So I'm thinking I'm going to time it so that it's up and going and it's warm and I'm not the only person and nothing's going on. And instead I timed it for exactly when the downpour happened and everything got torn down and shut down and everybody was inside the south end zone. But so I had this guy with his 2 daughters and he asked if they could take a picture. So whoever you are made my night.
So you're our celebrity. We got it.
No, it's not. But it means a lot. It means a lot. So I haven't seen that picture floating anywhere. So if you are listening, please tag me in that picture. Just because I love that you think that highly of me, that you want me around your daughters and things like that. The other one probably would be I had a really great interview with Lynn Roberts this week on Crimson Corner.
I've had a chance to listen to it, but I saw the tweet the other day.
Yeah. So she had a lot of great things to say. She had some very interesting things to say, especially I think about where she gets advice from. And one of them was Coach Witt about recruiting. She's taken some advice from Coach Witt about how to recruit to her program, which is absolutely fascinating. But it's awesome that, these coaches are helping each other out both in-house and out of house. She also talked about a bunch of the Pac-12 coaches that were really helpful in helping her diagnose some of the weaknesses in her team. Now, it maybe backfired on all of them a little bit, but it's kind of nice that, there isn't that. There's the competition there, but there's not the pettiness of, because I think there's this idea, at least in the women's game, that rising tides lift all ships. So, we're proud of being a conference that's really high and good and Pac-12 women's basketball, and we want everyone to kind of raise the standards. So there was some really good stuff. So if you haven't listened to that, I'm going to plug it. Please listen to it because I think she's great. I think her team's great. I think they're going to be great, and that's going to be a fun season. But obviously, football first.
Well, sure, and that very, very good point there. But that's awesome. The thing is, we've had her on with DJ and PK 2 or 3 times, and okay, I don't mean this in a bad way. DJ and PK are very hard to impress. They've been around for so long. They've done this for 20. They're in their 22nd year working together now, and they absolutely love her.
Yeah.
They think she's absolutely awesome. That's why they keep having her back on, because she both plays along with PK and all of his hijinks. Yeah. And she also delivers, as you mentioned, good information, good intel. It's not an easy balance to strike, but she does.
Yeah, no, she's really great.
That's awesome. So, yeah, check that out, Crimson Corner Podcast, KSLSports.com, also wherever you get your podcasts, right?
Yep.
Yeah, awesome. Highlight of my week real quick is just we're back in, the thick of my kids being in sports. My son has his first flag football game today. We'll see how that goes. Feels like it's going to be herding cats a little bit because they are young. But my daughter, she is continuing just to absolutely astound me with her cheerleading skills. She's like, watch this, and she does something. I'm like, what just happened here? So, anyways, it's fun. I'm a proud dad. Let's put it that way.
Well, you should be.
That's what I live for anymore, it feels like. But nonetheless, fun all the same. All right, so we got plenty to cover ahead on today's show. We're going to talk a lot of college football. We're going to get you ready for Week 0 games.
Yeah.
And, we do need to talk about okay, you know what? Let's get to it right now. Let's get to what's the big deal.
Do you know who I am?
No, I can't say that I do.
I don't know how to put this, but I'm kind of a big deal.
Really?
People know me.
Well, I'm very happy for you.
I'm very important. I have many leather-bound books, and my apartment smells of rich mahogany.
All right, so it is Week 0, Michelle, and the funny thing about these Week 0 games is where these games end up getting broadcast. And the joke all week has been that USC, the number 6 team in the country, they're taking on San Jose State, which actually, of all the games on the slate, outside of the Navy-Notre Dame game in Dublin, Ireland, and what I feel like is Ohio and San Diego State, the USC-San Jose State game might be the best in terms of just overall matchup because you have Caleb Williams, the reigning Heisman Trophy winner, and then also Siobhan Cordero, who's the preseason Mountain West Offensive Player of the Year as their quarterback for the Spartans. The problem is you got to find it on Pac-12 Network.
It's not a problem for me.
I know, but I'm just saying.
But yeah, for others.
I'm talking about everybody outside of us here in the Western United States. It feels like they're going to be like, hey, I want to watch USC. Where can I find that? And they're like, oh. And that's the thing about this is ESPN's primetime game tonight. Do you know who they have on the mothership in primetime?
Am I going to be really sad?
Yes, you are.
Oh, no.
UMass, New Mexico State.
Woof.
That is who is on ESPN.
Ew.
Meanwhile, USC with the reigning Heisman Trophy winner is stuck on the Pac-12 network. I don't know where this all went down, but this feels like completely backwards.
It does. I memean, that's actually really stunning. I guess the only thing I can say is get a better opponent.
Something. It's one because I was looking at this. I'm like, how in the world did the Pac-12 networks scoop USC away from Fox, ESPN, whoever else?
Yeah,
but
the bigger name brands.
Nonetheless, that's how it's going to shake out. It looks like today. Now, obviously, it's fun to have college football back. I had Week 3 of high school football last night. I got a chance I was calling the Lone Peak Corner Canyon game. A lot of D1 talent on both sides in that game, and a lot of it showed out in big ways as well. But college football is a whole nother deal. It's just there's a feeling about it that, hey, fall's getting here. These are athletes that are we know that college football is becoming more of a professionalized model.
Yes.
But there's still a lot of the love for the game in college still as well. And that's the thing I think I'm most excited for is we have Navy and Notre Dame flying over to Dublin, Ireland. We're a Fox Sports affiliate here on the KSL Sports Zone. And in the mornings, the last 2 mornings, the morning show that leads into DJ and PK, they've been live in Dublin at a pub doing their show.
jealous.
I know, I'm jealous too, but it's been fun. They've been hyping it up and getting ready for stuff like this. That's kind of the pageantry and the passion that college football brings.
Absolutely.
That's what I'm looking forward to most. What are you looking forward to?
Oh yeah, there is just a feeling that happens when college football is here. And it doesn't matter if Utah's playing, it doesn't matter if BYU's playing, Utah State, Weber State, like you just can feel it when it's game day, and especially if there's like a big game at home, which Utah has this year. And it hasn't quite started to trickle through yet, but I think come Monday it's going to be very palpable. Like there's just going to be this feeling about big time program is coming to this state to play a big time game.
Okay, I don't mean this to be like a negative on this, but I look at this opener for Utah as maybe one of their best ever, because traditionally it's been Weber State, Northern Colorado, Southern Utah. Like it's been the FCS game, and okay, it's fun to have the game back, but it's competitive for the first 5 minutes.
Yeah,
and then it's like, okay, here goes Utah, and they're steamrolling. Florida coming on the other hand to kick off a season on a Thursday night. SEC team, huge history. Obviously, the old ball coach Steve Spurrier, the whole history that UF brings to the table.
Yeah,
that you're right. It's starting to really like. Hold on, Florida's going to be in Salt Lake City.
I know. Well, I mean, the SEC rarely travels out of their footprint, and especially the bigger brand SEC teams.
Yes.
So the fact that Utah got Florida to agree to come out west, like, I am so excited. I am so pumped. I cannot wait for the Florida fans to just kind of check out what we do here, because like football out west kind of has a bad rap, but I think we do it right here in Utah, and I will happily include like BYU and some of the other schools here, just because even though like Salt Lake is a bigger city, it's smaller in comparison to other places. We don't have a lot of professional teams, and so some of these games are the biggest ticket in town until the Jazz start tipping off. So it's exciting to be able to kind of showcase that. And again, I'm not trying to say that Utah's like Florida, like or any SEC team.
That's its own thing. Yeah,
it's its own thing after having seen it and experiencing it last year. But like, there's elements of it that are very, very similar. It's SEC light.
Well, and okay, I can back you up on that, because we've had Yogi Roth on our station I don't know how many times. And I have a promo, I call it an oldie but a goodie, that I bring back around every so often. And he talked about Salt Lake City. He said he'd never been to Salt Lake before Utah joined the Pac-12. So this goes back 13 years.
Yeah.
But he said in his time covering Utah and obviously them being in the Pac-12, he said Salt Lake City is what I consider to be SEC quality in terms of its passion for college football. He says, you guys, and he's speaking generally, he included everybody in the state. You guys are in the middle of, I think he said like the middle of March, and you're talking about quarterback battles. Meanwhile, the rest of the country's talking NBA, and we still talk NBA and whatnot, but we're so hyper-focused on our local college teams, because we don't have an NFL team here. The closest NFL teams are Denver and Las Vegas now.
Right.
So it opens up a huge passion that I think our fans in general in this state buy into. Yeah, it's fun to have Florida coming here. BYU, I know that Sam Houston State's not a headliner, but the fact that the season opener is here, it changes the whole feeling, because you've gone for 9 months without football, and PK and I were talking about this earlier this week. The college football season really lasts for about 3 months.
It's blink and you'll miss it.
Yeah.
And I remember last year, it kind of like the first month of it kind of feels like it goes by sort of slow. You're like, okay, like,
you're wow,
we finally got through 4 games. And then the last 2 months just goes by like that. And it's like, oh, cool. Okay, we're done now.
It does.
We're thinking postseason, and then we are done for the year.
Sure, and that's the thing about this, is it's why it's so fun, because it is so finite, the period that you get to watch it and embrace it and cheer on your favorite teams, whether it's the Utes, the Cougars, the Aggies, Wildcats, whatever who you happen to root for. That's the best part about it. But at the same time, it's I don't know. It's a really pivotal time as well right now because we're going to see everything change next year. College football playoff expands. Utah joins the Big 12 along with the other 4 corner schools, which I use that term even though I don't necessarily like it.
It's easier than having to spit out every single team.
Colorado, Arizona State, Arizona, and Utah. I get that. But there's a lot of change on the horizon.
Yes.
But at the same time, this season, in and of itself, because every season's got its own unique characteristics to it. But it feels like this one, and that's kind of what I want to ask the next thing for you, is because you're covering Utah, so you're pretty focused here on the Pac-12. It looks like on paper this could be a banner year for this conference, even though it's in its final year.
I know, isn't that ironic?
Yeah,
it's so ironic. Part of me wants to cry about that, and a part of me
kind of do, yeah.
And a part of me kind of chuckles about that because it's again, we talk about things being the most Pac-12 thing ever. That is the most Pac-12 thing ever. Yeah. Hey, we finally kind of got it together, and our football's looking really good, but we're also done after this year.
We're closing up shop.
Yeah, we're closing up shop. We'll never be this good again. I don't know, but it's a wild thing to think about. But again, and this is obviously looking on paper. We'll see once the games are actually played because things could change.
Sure.
There are instances where teams look like they're going to be so good and then they end up not being good,
Correct.
or teams don't look good and then they end up being really good. But I think between everything that's kind of gone on and happened, I think there's a lot of hurt feelings throughout the conference between people. I think there's obviously the storyline of, Utah's won it the last couple of times, so they have a big target on their back.
Sure.
They're the team to beat right now. Utah, on the other hand, I know would love nothing more than to be the only team in the history of the Pac-12 to win it 3 times and maybe even launch themselves into, if all things go well, maybe slide into one of those 4 spots in the college football playoff or have another shot at another New Year's Six Bowl and maybe break through and get that win kind of off their back. So there's just a lot of things kind of going on that really I think could bubble and fester and just make this an incredible, incredible season. And then, of course, we've already kind of touched on it, talked about it, the fact that Utah's opening with 2 big games.
Yeah, we got Baylor the following week,
Baylor's a good team too. Baylor's not the typical run-of-the-mill, whatever kind of team that Utah has typically had on their schedule. So to have back-to-back games like that and then go into that Pac-12 schedule that they've got, and knowing that Utah is most likely going to be a very good team again this year, opens up a whole realm of exciting possibilities, at least while we don't know for sure what the outcome is.
Games haven't kicked off. Yeah, that's the biggest thing is we spend so long looking forward to this, but once they actually take the field, the storylines change because the actual action is happening and you have to kind of reformat of what you think was going to happen versus what the actual reality is. And that'll be the fun part about it. But the other thing about this, and there's one thought I've had about this, and I'm going to run this by you, is BYU played Baylor in 2021 down in Waco. It was might have been about a month after the official invitation was extended to BYU to join the conference. And Baylor is obviously going to be a conference mate. And they were hyping it up saying, okay, BYU, it's a measuring stick game for this is what they're going to be going up against on a week in and week out basis. I've got the same thought. This is exactly kind of what Utah's going to be facing. They're going to Baylor, and I know that we're looking beyond what this coming week has with Florida.
Yeah. But
at the same time, you got to be, if you're Baylor, you're like, all right, we introduced BYU to the Big 12 brand of football, and then we get 2 years later, we're doing the exact same thing with Utah potentially here.
Yeah.
And it's going to be very interesting because you're right. The hype for Utah, that's the fun part, is you have 2 really big games. You're starting out the season with a bang. I mean, you're off and rolling. Now, you go out and lose 1 or 2 of those games.
Yeah, it totally changes the narrative.
Sure.
Totally changes the narrative and the feelings. Obviously, we saw last year Utah can recover from that and be just fine, but it does change the tone, at least early on in the season, if you lose 1 or 2 of those games.
Now, I want to ask you on this, in terms of looking ahead to Thursday night, because it's game week. Utah's already in game prep mode. They've been doing that. They're operating as such. We saw the depth chart pop up.
Yes.
Cam Rising, clearly the starter.
Yeah.
Bryson Barnes number 2, though.
Uh-huh.
So I think that ends any debate about, okay, is it Nate Johnson, is it Bryson Barnes? Now,
does it, though?
We have had yes, that's the other thing. It was brought up on social media. Well, Kyle threw a curveball at us with Washington State last year. Obviously, with Cam Rising's warm up, and all of a sudden, Bryson, you're going. Get in there.
Well, and here's an interesting thought.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that it's true one way or another, but what if it's just that Bryson's number 2?
Well, that's a great point. Like,
and they're not going to list Nate Johnson unless he has to be number 1.
They're like he is the number 2 guy. Like, that's just what he is.
It could be.
Sure.
It could be.
Now, also depth chart wise, because this came out, and trust me, we all were like, okay,
scanning through it.
Okay, a couple of points I wanted to talk about.
Okay, let's hear it.
Spencer Fano, true freshman, starting at left tackle.
Yep.
His first college experience is even 18. I remember how old he is, but he is going up against an SEC defense.
Yeah.
Okay, and there were people out there like, well, why are they I'm like, here's the thing. I watched that kid in high school. I was absolutely floored at his skill. He's just so fluid. He understands the game at a deeper level than most freshmen do. I'm really impressed that he is the starting left tackle. Your thought?
Yeah. I mean, it's incredibly impressive. I think I saw a stat that this is the first time Utah is starting a freshman for game 1 since 2020.
Okay.
So, it's not something that happens very often. And if I believe also that it's maybe only happened twice at the tackle position.
Okay.
So I mean, no, they don't typically throw a freshman to the fire.
Yeah.
Now, because fans do what fans are going to do, right? They worry and they pick apart. Well, does that mean that nobody else was good? No. This offensive line unit is really good for Utah. They could probably come up with 4 or 5, I think, different lineups with the guys that they have, mix and match however they want. What this says, though, is that this is the best 5 combo in their minds, at least in practice. We'll see how that translates to games. It could be different, and the good news is they have other people they feel confident in. If it doesn't work out, they can plug someone else in, and it probably will be fine. It probably will be fine. I don't think there's any reason to worry or fret, but the fact of the matter is Kyle and company has been doing this for so long, they would not put Spencer in this position if they did not feel confident that he could do it. And they've clearly been seeing things in practice that indicate that he is more than ready for this role.
Now, other thing I noticed on that, because I'm really impressed with that, Sato Olaomeo will be over on the right side, and I think that's a really nice pair of bookend tackles. And you mentioned the offensive line. I got no problem with Jim Harding. Anything I feel like he says, I'm going to go with that. I'm like, hey, you've got a track record of putting out pretty good offensive line play. So I'm looking at that. Now, defensively, I was very impressed that Keanu Tanuvasa is starting over Samote Pepa. Your thought on that one?
You know what? Keanu has worked his butt off. That has been the report out of camp. Keanu has done everything he possibly can to get ready, be prepared, and be able to take that position. Now, there's also some question about, there's been some reporting that the defensive line is a little banged up as well. So, there is some question there as to, is Samote maybe one of those players that's banged up and he would otherwise be in the 2 deep?
Sure, yeah.
But the other part of it is, and I've seen this pointed out a couple of times, is the 2 deep doesn't mean as much on the defensive line for Utah as it does, other positions and stuff, because they are constantly rotating guys through. And they have come out and said that they have a group that they feel like they can kind of rotate through and keep it fresh and keep everybody hopefully healthy and ready to go. So, but regardless, it doesn't change the fact that Keanu has put in the work. He has put in the work to be ready and to be one of those guys that can be in that rotation, regardless of whether he's the 1, the 2, the 3. It doesn't matter because, again, they just rotate through guys.
Now, when it comes to – because this defense is expected to be one of the best that Kyle Whittingham and Morgan Scalley have ever fielded. And that's got to tell you something, I feel like, in terms of if a guy like Keanu Tanuvasa can beat out a guy like Samote Pepa, because Pepa, to me, I love the kid. I think he's absolutely phenomenal.
Oh, he had some great moments last year.
And the nice part is you also have Junior Tafuna, who is also just an absolute stud. He's just an absolute rock in the middle of that defense. But then looking at the linebacking core, I'm stunned at the depth they've got. Karene Reed, Levani Demouni, Lander Barton are your starters, but then you have Josh Calvert, Sione Fotu on this, Justin Medlock, and it feels like to me they could have gone 3 or 4 more guys. If they want to do like a 3 deep, they easily could have done that at linebacker.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I talked with Colton Swan, and I was like, you have enough guys, I think, that you could do even a 4-backer set.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, I mean, if the offense that we're playing against calls for it, yeah, we can easily do that. Like, we have guys. We have guys that we feel confident in. I think one of the more interesting ones to me is that Josh Calvert has worked his way up the roster.
He's been buried.
He's been buried for a little while, and I know some of that's been a health thing as well. But it's nice to see that he's finally healthy and maybe in a place where he can contribute. And then, of course, you have Sione Fotu that played, I believe he played in 2020, if I'm remembering correctly, and then went on the mission, showed really well in that shortened season, but has been gone for a little while. I believe he was back here last year. Had to kind of knock some rust off and get back into things, but it looks like, he's in a place where he's ready to contribut. And so it's going to be really exciting to see someone like him back out on the field again.
No doubt about that. Okay, just 2 other quick notes I had for just chart-wise I wanted to run by you. Jaquindon Jackson, number 1 running back. I was actually really impressed there was not like 4 oars between all these dudes.
I know, right? Yeah, that's a little out of character.
They listed Mekhi Bernard as the backup, but then we're not even mentioning Chris Curry. We're not mentioning Jalen Glover. I was stunned that it was a clearly delineated starter backup.
Yeah, I mean, that's not typically how Utah has rolled, I think, in situations like that. But I think that probably really just indicates where Jaquindon's at, the work he's put in, and even Mekhi, too. But don't for a second think that you're not going to see some of these other guys. Like, again, this is another position group that's rolling deep. And I think, this depth chart just would have been way too long if they had listed all the oars with every position group.
Here's the thing: we had BYU a couple years ago list like the Frodo position, and they had 17 defensive positions. I remember looking at that depth chart, and I'm like, what in the world just happened?
What is this?
I remember asking them, like, why just like, well, we want to make sure you guys had everything covered with regards to our personnel packages. I'm like, Coach, no offense. The lay fan and even me as a media member, I don't know what a Frodo is in your defense.
A hairy little hobbit.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
It said Frodo, F-R-O-D-O. I'm like, Frodo? They had those different names. I'm like, okay, here's the thing. Unless you're going to be sitting next to me and telling me,
whispering in my ear.
The Frodo package, Samwise Gamgee sitting next to me, like, hey, Frodo's in there. Like, okay, so I'm actually okay with them being a little more concise.
Yeah.
Here's how it – because you could extend that out. Okay, real quick, one more on this. Brant Keithy, listed as the starting tight end. There's been question of his availability. What are you hearing on that front?
Don't expect him for Florida.
Got it.
Fair enough. Super easy. Super easy.
But he is when he is cleared, easy. He's the guy.
I was told 3 to 4 games in.
Okay, well, and that – here's the thing. That could be the Cam Rising situation as well. We don't know yet on both those players.
We don't know yet, but I will throw out the Cam Rising situation is sounding a lot more positive 24 hours later than it did initially early on.
Sweet. Well, hey, that's good to
hear. So we'll see.
Hey.
Not cleared yet, but we will see.
Michelle is the Utah insider for a reason, folks. Let's be very clear about that.
Yeah.
All right. We will take a time. We'll come back on the side, talk some more football. I want to talk a little more on BYU side of things real quick. First, we're going to be joined, though, by Lindsay here. We're here at Murdoch Chevrolet up in Woods Cross. Back here, we were here 2 weeks ago, Lindsay, and I walked in, and there's a really cool sign outside that says 97 years, obviously. And Murdochs have been in business for a really, really long time. You guys are celebrating big time.
Yeah, absolutely we are. And part of that celebration is we've got over 12 new Silverados on our lot. You can get up to $7,000 off on the half tons.
Wow, okay.
We've got several HDs out there. We've even got box work trucks with service bodies on the back. And
so no matter what you want, you got options.
Absolutely. Yeah, we actually have over 100, probably pushing 150 used cars as well with trucks. So.
Okay, so I remember talking to you a couple weeks ago about the used car deal. How is the market still strong on that? How are things looking used cars wise right now?
Market's still very strong. You can bring in trades. We pay good value on the trades. You can actually take a look at almost anything.
Sure. Yeah.
As far as what
options,
we've got
yes.
here. Yeah, we've got some pretty high-end used cars, and we've got a lot of those cars that kind of fits the niche with that $15,000, $25,000 range as well.
Now, of course, Chevrolet, an all-American brand, we all know this. In terms of what has been the hottest model in the Chevrolet run right now? Do you guys have one that's going out the door faster than those? Because you mentioned the Silverados.
Silverados is always, I guess, as they say, the golden calf of
sure.
Chevy.
Yeah.
But the new Chevy Trax is just I don't think we've ever had one that has hit the lot that hasn't been sold.
Got it. It's already
been
spoken
sold.
for.
Yeah, spoken for, and we've got a bunch coming in. The Trailblazer is one that the Trax is going to probably take over, but the Trailblazer has been extremely popular as well.
Now, obviously, people can stop in. You're here all day. How long are you guys open for today on Saturday?
Open till 8.
Yeah, so you got options. You can come in and check it out. Talk to Lindsay. Talk to the entire staff here. It's great. It's hard to miss this place. Also, by the way,
absolutely.
As I look, the address officially is 2375 South, 625 West in Woods Cross. Here's the thing. Get off the 2300 South exit.
2600.
Sorry, 2600 South exit. Hang a left. It's right here.
Yep.
You can't miss it. It's right off I-15. Stop by. We'll talk with you as the show progresses. All right, Lindsay?
All right. Thank you.
All right. More in a moment. We are live once again here at Murdoch Chevrolet in Woods Cross. Stop on by. Pick up some jazz gear. Get some candy. Say hi to Michelle because apparently she's a celebrity, having people taking pictures with her. Hey, you know what? We'll take care of you. More in a moment. This is the Saturday Show on 97.5 FM, the KSL Sports Zone. Welcome back to the Saturday Show here on 97.5 FM, the KSL Sports Zone. Saturday Show live on location today in Woods Cross. Just has a listener take some jazz swag out the door with him, but appreciate all you stopping by. Come by and check it out. $7,000 off Chevy Silverados. That's not nothing. Let's put it that way. That's a pretty significant.
That's a good chunk of change.
Absolutely. So stop on by. I'd love to see you guys. You can get some candy as well if you got your kiddos with you. No matter where you're at on this Saturday, we're just off the freeway in Woods Cross. Stop on by. We'd love to see you guys and say hello. All right, Michelle, let's dive back in and talk some more football. Now, with regards to the Week 0 slate, here's the thing. I love the overseas idea, playing in Dublin for Notre Dame and Navy. I actually, if you're going to play Week 0, I think you should do more stuff like this.
Yeah.
Send teams abroad. Now, we had Arizona, I think, play in Australia not too long ago, maybe 5 or 6 years ago.
Cal also did that.
Yeah, Cal did, because the Pac-12 had a little run where they were trying to send Australia. I would, if you're gonna play one of these games where it's a novelty where you're not playing the full slate of games, not Week 1, it's still the Week 0. Mm-hmm. If I was the NCAA, I'd essentially tell them, hey, find something unique about this game. Go somewhere for Dublin, for example, play somewhere unique, or play in an iconic venue that maybe doesn't have college football all the time. I just try and spice it up a little bit rather than, hey, we're playing UMass and New Mexico State in Las Cruces, New Mexico at 5 o'clock Mountain Time on ESPN.
Yeah, big yawn. You know what always made me so kind of sad about the Australia thing with the Pac-12? Why did you never ask you? Because that was at the height of when they had Tom Hackett, Mitch Wishnowsky. Bring them to Australia.
Yeah. Well,
they're freaking superstars here. Bring them to their homeland and let them kick the pigskin or kick the bacon. That's what it was. Kick the bacon.
Yeah, that's the greatest thing he's ever said. Probably Tom said a lot of good things in his media career, but kick the bacon made me. I just was rolling listening to that one because you're right. It's why wouldn't you take advantage of that? Because there's the whole thing with it now on the BYU side of things with the Big 12. They want to make that push into Mexico.
Right.
You got to guarantee BYU is over there just raising their hand saying, "Yep, we'll do it." There's north of 1 million members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Mexico. It's the largest population base of members outside of the United States in the entire world. You have missionaries all over that country and members. why wouldn't you say, yeah, we'll play Mexico City, we'll go to Monterrey, we'll do all this stuff, because it gives you a built-in, I guess, I don't want to say fan base, but a built-in hook to get people to come out to those games.
You know what's going to happen? Utah BYU in Mexico.
I'm totally okay with that. I'm not going to lie.
I need to brush up on my passport
now,
first.
The biggest thing is that they've said that right now it's going to be mainly basketball are going to be the actual in-season contests in Mexico City. They want to open a bowl game in Monterrey, though.
Right.
Which, hey, if you can get but here's the thing. If that bowl game gets off the ground, who's to say you don't send a regular season football game down there at some point?
I mean, why not? Why not? We've talked about this before. It's going to end up being the biggest rivalry in the Big 12. It is.
Yeah. Sorry, Farmageddon. It's not.
Yeah, y'all just have no idea what you're in for, and it terrifies me a little. Like I've said, I'm not super thrilled and excited about this, but
sure.
But from a purely marketing and branding standpoint, it's perfect.
Yeah,
it is perfect. From a having to live with people standpoint, maybe not so great.
Sure, but that's the fun part about this rivalry. It exists literally in everything.
Oh my gosh, yeah. See, and I'm very much let's turn it off when we don't need it.
I get that.
But, I know I'm maybe a little bit of a rarity on that end of it.
It stirs up passion. That's the thing about it.
It does.
People are all in on it at all times. That's the thing about it.
It is.
You can say the most innocuous thing on social media, and if it's in some person's mind on either side of BYU Utah fans,
gosh.
They think you're taking a shot at them, off you go.
Well, I mean, for instance, what Kyle Whittingham said about,
yes.
How does that start? How does that kick a hornet's nest? But I mean, that's just what this rivalry is.
Yeah, and if you're trying to catch up on that, Kyle Whittingham, he's been a broken record on this, by the way.
Yes,
this is
nothing new.
He has gone on and said that he sees radical changes, radical. He thinks that the Super Conference era is here and it's coming faster than anybody expects. And Kyle, he's the one guy who's been I'll say the quiet part out loud. I don't care. But for whatever reason, either people weren't paying attention and it got kicked up this week that he thinks it's going to blow up. He does think it's going to blow up. There's a lot of people in the college football world who think it's going to blow up.
Yeah.
Now, does that mean, and we've talked this on DJ and PK, is it going to be the top 40 teams? Is it the top 50 teams? And does that mean that does Utah and BYU in particular, because obviously those are of interest to us here in the state, do they make that cut? Do they get inside that field?
Is it one? Is it both?
Yeah.
Is it neither? Is it yeah, that. There's just a lot to consider here, and at the moment, we don't really know. And I've been on record as saying this as well. Mm-hmm. This Big 12 thing, in my opinion, is very temporary.
Okay,
it's very, very temporary, and I don't mean that as a slight or to be mean or to be rude. It's just the way things are going. That's what it is. These networks have an idea of what they want, and they're going to cherry pick and move and tweak and take what they want and leave the rest. And so if you don't think for a second that there isn't some risk that some of the better programs that are currently in the Big 12, and as of right now, Utah looks to be one of them, we'll see who else emerges. But if you don't think that it's in the back of BYU's mind that, hey, we got to make the most of this opportunity because we don't want to be left out, while Utah's over there sitting and thinking, we got to keep this going because we don't want to fall off and get left out. It's on everybody's minds. That, I can promise you the people in those back rooms are thinking about this constantly, and they are scrambling to try and make sure that Utah, BYU, whoever else, TCU, whoever else in that conference is ready to go in case the call-up comes.
Now, therein lies kind of the debate on the timing of all this, because that was kind of the one thing is Kyle, I think the comment was 2 to 3 years, or so, I don't remember the exact phraseology he used on it, but there's a lot of people that are saying, well, the media rights deals are set for the next 6-ish years because that's the 2031's when the Big 12 deal is up, and there's a grant of rights. Obviously, it's been signed by all the members, including the incoming. They have to sign that. Here's the thing. whether it happens 2 to 3 years, whether it happens in 5 or 6 years in the early 2030s, it's coming. And to your point, if you're BYU and Utah, yeah, you got to be playing your best ball. Because here's the thing. Had Big 12 expansion, I'm talking about when BYU got in, had that happened in 2016, USF probably gets him ahead of UCF.
Totally.
UCF had fallen hard. They went 0-12 one year, and USF was rocking and rolling at that point. And there are a lot of people saying, okay, the Bulls, okay, they're the ones to go pick up. Well, it didn't happen. All of a sudden, UCF figured it out. They had Scott Frost. They have a fantastic run as their head coach. They got back winning. USF went into the tank. Guess what? When the actual expansion happened, who did they take? They take the Knights. They don't take the Bulls. That's the concern you've got to have if you're BYU and Utah right now. You have to maintain, to your point, BYU's got to take advantage of this.
Yep.
Utah's got to maintain.
Because both, I think, have the potential to be right on the edge.
Sure, yeah.
But, like...
They're in talks. They'll be teams that are being debated.
Yes.
And they've got to just be proven that we're good enough.
Here's the thing. Neither one of these teams want to be the debate. Well, maybe. Well, maybe. No, you want people going into that room and being like, no, we want them.
They're coming.
You're coming.
Yeah. It's going to be an interesting time. Back to the point. That's the rivalry that exists in all things. And that's what here's the thing. The Big 12, I'm seeing their fans online. They're like, man, these BYU and Utah fans get after it.
I know.
And
we do.
We're sitting over here like, yeah, well.
Yeah, welcome to the party.
Well, welcome in. So, good times. All right, we will take a time out here. We'll come back on the other side. We'll dig into technical fouls in hour 2 of the program. We got 5 minutes left. We got plenty more football to talk as well. Some more to come on the Saturday show right here live from Murdoch Chevrolet in Woods Cross. Stop on by. I'd love to see you guys. More in a moment. This is 97.5 FM, the KSL Sports Zone.
You're coming from the street with dirty shoes on your feet. That's a technical foul. If you switch the radio to some modern music show, that's a technical foul. If you touch the thermostat,
you'll get hit with a bat.
'Cause that's a technical foul.
You will feel my wrath.
That's a technical foul.
Personal foul, 69, offense. He was giving them the business.
A technical foul.
Welcome back to the Saturday show here on 97.5 FM, the KSL Sports Zone, live today at the Woods Cross Murdoch Chevrolet location. Love for you guys to stop by. We'll talk with Lindsay here in a moment, but it's time now for technical fouls. And we were talking in the break, and Michelle and Sarah both have the same one they picked, and it's probably the biggest technical foul of the week. There's no doubt about it. So, Sarah, I'm going to let you kind of explain what happened here.
So if you guys didn't know, the Women's World Cup just happened. Spain came out victorious, and in the celebration, there was some unsolicited activity between the president of the Spanish Federation and the players. He, kissed one of the players on the mouth, forced it upon her, and she was not okay with it, did not consent to it, and so it's caused some disciplinary action by FIFA to open a case against him. They ended up suspending him. The most recent news that came out is that he's suspended amid the investigation because yesterday he was saying that he refuses to resign. And yeah, it's just there's been so much drama surrounding the leaders of this Spanish team going into the World Cup, and now this to add on to it. It's come on, dude. What is wrong with people? I just don't get it.
Okay, so let me insert also on this. He has had calls for him to step down. Mm-hmm. And this is the other thing about this is the coach had 15 members of the women's Spanish national team essentially say, we won't play for this dude. This is over a year ago. 3 of them ended up playing for this version of La Roja Furia, who won the Women's World Cup. So first time they've ever won it in the women's side of things. Fantastic accomplishment. It's been sullied by all of this.
Yes.
And this dude, I got no kind words for him. Michelle, what is your take?
I yes, I wanted to talk about this because I've talked about it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I have gone through exactly this.
Okay.
A year ago, I had someone force themselves upon me, just kind of heading into the football season. It's something that I am still dealing with now.
Sure.
And it is very frustrating when you have someone say the things that this guy has said. Well, I'm not stepping down. I was just caught up in the moment. Like, BS.
Yeah.
BS. And, like, driving up here, I was trying to think about, like, the best way to kind of explain just how ridiculous that argument is. And the two things that I came up with, kind of more hypothetical land, but just to, like, paint the picture of why this just doesn't work, is Imagine that Ruth Watkins is still the president up at Utah.
Okay.
Kyle Whittingham and the Utes win the national championship, and Ruth Watkins comes up and plants one on Coach Witt. Like, can you imagine the
plants one, Cam Rising?
Yeah. Can you imagine the outrage over that and how people would say that's unladylike, it's inappropriate, it's this, it's that, who does that?
The whole referendum.
You know, a whole thing. Why is it that she will get chewed out in that instance? Or if I did that, I would get chewed out. Like, I would be laid out. Mm-hmm. But the attitude towards something like this is, well, guys will be guys. He was just caught up in the moment.
No. Yeah.
Miss me with that. Again, as someone that has dealt with this and has heard, like, the person that I'm dealing with has made up excuses as well. And, oh, by the way, there are other women as well. So it's a pattern. It's also a pattern of behavior.
Sure. And here's the thing. This guy, because he trust me, he's had people from all corners of the soccer world and even beyond that, like actual government officials in Spain, like, okay, dude, get out. Mm-hmm. But the problem is, like, this guy is being defiant about it. And I'm like, what are you doing here? Like,
it's
what are we doing here?
So common in these cases, though, unfortunately, from personal experience.
Like, there's not many more technical fouls. I'm going to give just a quick one to the 49ers because the Trey Lance gamble is over.
Oh, man, yeah.
Like, we trust me, I'm a Niners fan. I'm jaded as all get out about this. You traded away 3 first-round picks to move up to number 3 in the draft and go and get Trey Lance. It just, for them to now ship him off to Dallas for a 4th-round pick, okay, way to go, guys. But you're right. This is the fact that Spain is still dealing with it, and this guy has not gone already.
Yeah,
is just who calls the shots here? This guy should be out on his rear end on the curb. Should have done that 4 days ago.
Because if it was opposite, that person would be gone.
Yeah. Anyways.
Well, we know FIFA's not the most moral organization either, so it might take a sec before this gets done. And it's just so frustrating because women's sports, especially women's soccer, has come so far, and then it just reminds you that it still has so much further to go when something like this happens. Well, it's ridiculous.
And Gianni Infantino, who is the president of FIFA, he's running the global organization, got up on a podium down there in Australia and said, well, now is a time for women to prove that they can be like a force. And it's like, well, here's your opportunity to do that. Meanwhile, you guys are just sitting on your hands. Way to go.
Otherwise, right now, you're basically saying that they're objects and property. Thank you.
You're a bit complicit in all this. It's a bad situation all the way around. Like I said, I got to hold my tongue a little bit because there's other words I want to say about this.
I know,
shit
right?
happened to this dude.
Yeah.
Anyways, but we will get back to there's an actually interesting thing I want to talk about next. It popped up in the college basketball realm, Michelle, this week between BYU and Kansas State with a transfer between the two. And Jerome Tang, I want to play the comments from Jerome Tang about Quez Glover and BYU. I want to expand it out. I'll explain coming up next. But before we do that, we're going to talk with Lindsay here at the Murdoch Chevrolet here in Woods Cross. And, Lindsay, we were just talking when you were last on about the fact you said 12 Silverados on the lot. That's a big thing right now, is actually having multiple options for people to come and check out.
Yeah, not only that, but a lot of the used Silverados we have are actually basically new.
Oh, sweet. Okay, so
21, 22s. We actually have a 23 brand new Colorado that's technically used with just a few thousand miles. Just a few thousand miles. Okay. Someone decided it must have been too small for him or something. It's a gorgeous truck. We have that. We have new Colorados here as well with the new design. Okay. So you can come on in and check that out. And
well, as a guy who once upon a time drove the old S10, the Colorado looks far better than my S10 ever did. I'll tell you that much.
I think Chevy hit it out of the park with the new design on the Colorado. This is just a beautiful truck,
Absolutely.
inside and out.
Yeah, the truck. Well, I just recently got out of a Chevy. I absolutely love the thing. In many ways, I still wish I had it in certain, but they know what to do with it when it comes to consumers. They make it so it's really, really comfortable, but at the same time, your functionality is absolutely incredible inside the car as well.
Absolutely. They've done a whole redesign. If you sit, a lot of the vehicles we have, sports cars and stuff, they call it the cockpit.
Yes.
Actually.
Yeah, cockpit, yeah.
So if you actually sit in there, everything is just right there. Steering wheel, push buttons, everything like that. So they make it about as simplified as you can get.
Now, you guys are celebrating 97 years with the Murdochs. What all does that entail for you guys? What all you got going on?
Well, right now, as we celebrate that, being 97 years in the business, you can get up to $7,000 on select Silverados, the half tons. And part of what we like to do, too, 97 years, we feel that we've done it right.
Well, yeah, as I say, when you're nearing the century mark, you've done something.
Yeah. So we do like to follow our mission statement that when you come through these doors, you feel like family, and we love to treat people like family.
Well, absolutely. Well, we'll continue to talk with you throughout today's show, but last thing I got for you guys, for you, Ace, in particular, is when it comes to people stopping in here, do they stop at the front desk? Who should they talk to when they get here?
Well, you should, when you pull up, you should, salesman will meet you right at the front doors.
Yeah.
They'll actually greet you with a warm and friendly smile and ask how they can be of service, and we'll just take you from there to driving off in a new car.
The old slogan, you are the heart of our business, right?
There you go.
All right, we'll talk more with you throughout the rest of the show. All right, Lindsay?
Yep.
All right, more in a moment. Hour 2 of the program underway momentarily right here on 97.5 FM, the KSL Sports Zone.